Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at 19th century perspectives on spirituality.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And, we're not talking about some, stuffy theological, text here. We're going to be looking at a popular novel.
Okay.
Which is called A Romance of Two Worlds, written by Marie Corelli.
Wow.
And it was published in 1887.
Okay.
So
that's great.
Yeah. And what makes it even cooler is that she included letters that she got, like real letters, from her readers who were reacting to the spiritual ideas.
Oh, wow.
That she was presenting in the story.
So it's like firsthand accounts of how these ideas...
It's like we have a direct line.
We're landing with people at the
thoughts and feelings of people who are really grappling with faith and belief.
Yes.
During a time of really immense change in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of like being a fly on the wall in these conversations that were happening.
Yeah, really fascinating.
Yeah. So tell me more about Corelli's perspective on spirituality. I mean, was she like a traditional Christian or a mystic, or was it something else entirely?
That's a really good question. And that's kind of what makes this so interesting, because she's sort of this unique blend.
Okay.
She has this unique blend of Christianity, but with a lot of concepts that we might think are more, familiar to us today.
Okay.
Like occultism or early New Age thinking.
Why?
So on the one hand, she really believes that you can only achieve true spiritual power through like complete faith in Christ.
Right, because she was writing this, in the 19th century. So
yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
For the time.
But then on the other hand, she's talking about things like cultivating your inner spiritual force.
Okay.
Seeing visions and connecting with higher intelligences.
Okay, so she's really pushing the boundaries there a little bit.
Absolutely.
Do you have an example of how she combines these seemingly different ideas?
Yeah, so for example, she talks a lot about this idea of unselfish love for the Creator.
And so at first glance, that might sound a lot like, the golden rule, just loving your neighbor, all that.
Yeah.
But then she kind of goes a step further with it. And she says that this kind of love, which we might call agape love today, it's not just a guideline. It's not just moral. It actually increases your spiritual power.
So it's almost like she's saying that by acting with this really profound love, it actually strengthens your connection to the divine.
Yes, exactly.
Which is not something you typically hear in a Sunday sermon.
No, definitely not.
I could definitely see how this could resonate with people today.
Yes.
Especially those who are interested in, both traditional religion and like personal growth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that's so interesting about looking at these historical perspectives, because you realize that these questions about faith and about connecting to something greater have been around for so long.
Yes. And,
totally. But there's also another layer here that I think you'll find interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah, where else?
Sergio.
So she was very critical of the spiritualist movement that was happening at the time. So, those seances, trying to talk to dead people and all of that.
Yep.
She really didn't hold back. She accused them of trickery and selfish motives. And basically she said they were all a bunch of fakers.
Wow. Okay. So she was really drawing a clear line between what she considered like authentic spirituality and then these practices that she felt were misleading her.
Yeah, exactly. She contrasted their inauthenticity with Christ's miracles, which she saw as these genuine acts of selfless love and compassion. And, in one of her letters, she describes going to a seance.
Oh, wow.
And she really thought that the medium was manipulating people for personal gain.
It's so interesting how this debate about what is authentic spirituality keeps popping up throughout history. Right? We still see those same arguments today, just with different practices kind of at the center of the controversy.
Totally. It's like this need to discern what's real and what's not. But hold on, there's more.
Okay.
She goes on and she talks about how spirituality is connected to electricity.
Electricity?
Yeah.
Now, that is not something I was expecting.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you think about it, electricity was really revolutionary.
It was.
In the 19th century.
Yeah.
It was driving all these new inventions. It was transforming society. So I guess it makes sense that people would try to understand, the unseen or the spiritual through the lens of electricity.
Yeah, it was a way to kind of grapple with these powerful forces that were reshaping the world.
Totally.
And she even went so far as to say that humans possess electrical organs that can be developed to enhance their spiritual abilities.
Hold on, electrical organs?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Even if I'm skeptical.
Right.
That is a pretty wild idea.
Yeah.
So did she explain how these electrical organs, actually work?
Yeah, and it gets really imaginative. She thought that these organs were connected to the nervous system.
Okay.
And that they could be stimulated through practices like meditation, willpower, and that big theme, unselfish love.
Right.
And by developing these organs, you could heighten your awareness, and you could even do things like clairvoyance and healing.
Wow. So she was really pushing the boundaries there of scientific thought.
Yes.
And spiritual thought.
Absolutely.
From a modern scientific perspective, we might view some of her claims with skepticism.
Right.
But it is really fascinating to see how she was trying to kind of bridge these two worlds.
Yeah.
She was really using the language of science to explore these mysteries of the human spirit. But we can't forget about those reader reactions.
Yes.
What did everyday people think about these ideas?
Well, let's just say the response was pretty strong. Some readers were completely captivated by her vision. They found it really inspiring. It gave them comfort. It gave them purpose.
Okay.
Even a new way of looking at the world.
So it sounds like she was really speaking to those who were searching for something more.
Yeah.
Something beyond traditional religion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But of course, not everyone agreed.
Right.
Some people were very skeptical. They questioned her scientific claims, especially about the whole electrical organs thing.
Right.
And it wasn't just the science. Some people thought that her blend of Christianity with these other ideas was unorthodox and even dangerous.
So she was really kind of sparking a debate.
Yes.
About spirituality.
Totally.
And this really reminds me of how people respond to different spiritual ideas today.
Yeah.
Some people are drawn to the mystical or the unexplained.
Right.
And other people want more of a rational, evidence-based approach.
Totally. It's like a timeless human dilemma.
Yes.
And it shows how a book like this can really force people to confront their own beliefs. Yeah.
And grapple with these big questions.
Totally. But what really stood out to me when I was reading these letters was
what's that?
This yearning for a more genuine and personal connection with spirituality.
100%.
It seems like a lot of readers were disillusioned with traditional religion.
Right.
And they were searching for something that was more authentic.
Yes.
More experiential. Something that could really nourish their spirit in a deeper way.
Yeah. And, this totally makes sense within the context of the 19th century.
Yeah, it was such a time of rapid scientific advancements, social upheaval. Yeah. People were really questioning long-held traditions.
Yes.
So it makes sense that people's inner lives were also being kind of shaken up.
Absolutely.
Right along with the world around them.
100%.
So it was like a perfect time for these new spiritual explorations.
Yes.
There was a search for meaning in the midst of all this change.
And it really makes you wonder, are we kind of seeing echoes of that today?
I think so.
Right? When we think about the rise of mindfulness practices or alternative spiritual paths, even the questioning of some of these traditional religious institutions, it's almost like we're kind of retracing the steps of those 19th century seekers.
I think there are definitely some parallels there.
Totally. So let's dive even deeper into these reader reactions.
Okay.
What were some of the specific experiences and struggles that they shared in their letters? What were some of their hopes and fears about this idea of, a new spirituality?
Yeah. So, for example, one reader who had recently lost a loved one wrote about how she just felt lost and adrift and was questioning the whole meaning of life.
Wow.
Wondering if there was anything beyond this earthly existence. And she found a lot of comfort in Corelli's ideas about an enduring spiritual self.
Right.
And the possibility of connecting with those who have passed on.
So it sounds like Corelli's words really offered this person a sense of hope and comfort during a time of grief.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And what about some of the other readers? Did they have similar experiences?
Yeah, so there was another letter from someone who was feeling stifled by the doctrines of their church.
Okay.
And they were really yearning for a more personal and experiential form of faith.
Yeah.
And they were drawn to her emphasis on cultivating inner strength and connecting with a higher power directly.
So it seems like, in a way, Corelli's book was providing a language for experiences and longings that traditional religion wasn't really addressing.
Yes, exactly. And if you look at the bigger picture, this is a theme that repeats itself throughout history.
Right.
That whenever there's this time of intense transformation, whether it's scientific or social or political, people start to question the old ways.
Right.
And they look for these new spiritual frameworks that can help them make sense of the changing world.
So Corelli wasn't just writing an entertaining novel.
Right.
She was tapping into this very real hunger for a different way of understanding and experiencing spirituality.
Absolutely. And I think that hunger is still present today.
Absolutely.
But now I want to go back to that connection she made between spirituality and electricity.
Okay, yes.
You mentioned those electrical organs that she thought humans had.
Yes.
Did she go into any detail about how they work?
Yeah, she did. And it gets a little wild.
Okay.
So she describes these organs as being connected to the nervous system.
Okay.
And she believed that they could be stimulated through things like meditation, willpower.
Right.
And remember, this was a big theme for her.
Yes.
Acts of unselfish love.
Yes.
And by developing these organs, she claimed that individuals could enhance their spiritual awareness.
Right.
And even gain like powers like clairvoyance or like the ability to heal others.
Wow.
I know.
So, I mean, obviously from a modern scientific perspective, we might be a little skeptical of those claims. But if we kind of set aside the literal interpretation for a moment, what do you think she was getting at?
Right.
Like, what deeper truth do you think she might be trying to express through this analogy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what she was trying to get at was this idea that we all have this hidden potential, this untapped power that goes beyond our ordinary physical and mental capabilities.
Okay.
And she saw spirituality as something that we could like cultivate and strengthen through conscious effort.
Right.
Just like we might train our muscles or develop a skill.
Totally.
And this idea of like energy, whether you call it electricity or prana or life force.
Yeah.
This is something that comes up again and again in a lot of different spiritual traditions.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's like recognizing that we're more than just these physical bodies.
Yeah.
There's something deeper to our being.
Yeah.
And Corelli was trying to use the language of electricity to explain that.
Yeah, it's fascinating how she was trying to bridge that gap between science and spirituality.
Yeah.
Using those scientific discoveries of her time to kind of illuminate those timeless mysteries.
Totally.
Of the human spirit.
Yeah. It really is. Like, she gave us this map to a whole other world, you know?
Yeah.
And her readers are choosing their paths through it.
Totally.
But here's the thing I keep thinking about.
Yeah.
What happened to those readers after they closed the book? You know?
Oh, that's a good question.
Did they keep exploring? Did their lives change? I mean, we can only guess, but it seems like a book like this could really change someone, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It gets you thinking. It opens up all these possibilities.
Right.
Makes you want to search for something more.
Totally. And, you know, we've seen it happen in our own lives.
Yeah.
Right? Like when a book just really shakes you up.
Yeah, 100%.
And you never look at the world the same way again.
It's like dropping a pebble in a pond, you know? Those ripples just keep going.
Exactly. And that's what makes these deep dives so much fun.
Yeah.
We get to explore these wild ideas.
Yeah.
And kind of trace how they've influenced the way we think.
Absolutely.
But speaking of wild ideas.
Yeah.
We've got to talk more about this electricity and spirituality thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those electrical organs she talked about?
Right.
Do you think she really thought those were a real thing?
It's hard to say, you know?
Yeah.
But it makes you think about how people were dealing with science back then.
Right.
I mean, electricity was so new.
Yeah.
Lights, telegraphs, machines, it felt like magic was becoming real.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that she would try to understand it all that way.
Right. It's like she was trying to find a way to talk about both science and spirituality.
Totally.
Using the language of her time.
Exactly.
To express these really deep concepts.
100%.
And even though we might not buy into the electrical organs thing today,
right.
I think she was onto something.
Yeah.
This idea that we have this untapped potential inside us.
Yeah.
This power that we can develop.
Right. It's like what we know now about energy and consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
How our thoughts and feelings actually affect things.
Totally. So maybe instead of taking the electrical organs, literally.
Right.
We should ask ourselves, what is that hidden energy inside us?
Yes.
And how do we tap into it?
That's the question.
To live a better life.
Exactly. And, you know, that's what a lot of her readers were asking, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wanted to know how to develop these spiritual abilities, how to connect with this higher power.
So did she give them any specific advice?
She didn't really like to lay out a system or anything, but she did talk about some principles for spiritual growth.
Like what?
Remember that unselfish love for the creator idea?
Right.
She said that was the foundation for everything else.
So it's like connecting to a higher power.
Yeah.
To that source of love and goodness.
Yeah.
That's how we reach our potential.
Exactly. And she thought that through self-discipline, willpower, focusing your attention. We could get closer to the divine.
It sounds like mindfulness.
Yeah, totally.
Like being present, cultivating awareness, aligning with a higher purpose.
Totally.
It's amazing how these themes keep coming back.
I know.
Throughout history.
It's like this deep human need to connect to something bigger.
Totally. But what I think is really cool is that she didn't just focus on looking inward.
Right.
She also talked about showing love and compassion to others.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not just about meditating on a mountaintop.
Right.
It's about bringing spirituality into your everyday life.
Exactly.
And how you treat other people.
Yeah, that's where her idea of unselfish love becomes really important.
Okay.
It's about caring for everyone,
right?
Not just the people you're close to.
Yeah.
It's about doing good for the whole world.
I can see how that would make a big difference.
Yeah.
Both in your own life and for everyone else.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder how we could practice spirituality like that today.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You know, in a way that really connects us to each other.
Right. And actually, one of her readers wrote about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this young guy who worked in a factory.
Okay.
He was feeling lost and trapped, stuck in a meaningless routine surrounded by poverty.
Yeah.
But her book really touched him. And he wanted to find more meaning in his life.
Right.
So he started small, just being nicer to his coworkers, helping out where he could.
That's great.
And he started going back to church.
Oh, wow.
Not because he had to, but because he wanted to connect with something bigger.
It's amazing how a small change can make such a difference.
It really is. It shows how spirituality isn't just about big ideas or mystical experiences. Right. It's about how you live your life.
Totally.
How you treat other people.
Yeah.
How you make the world a better place.
I love that it makes spirituality seem so real.
Yeah.
Like something we can all do.
Absolutely.
No matter what we believe.
Exactly.
But before we get too far off track, I want to hear more about what she said about music.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she talked about how it elevates the soul.
Right.
Connects us to the divine.
Yeah, she didn't go into too much detail about specific types of music.
Okay.
But she really loved classical music.
Yeah.
She thought those harmonies and emotions really tapped into something spiritual.
You know, I've always felt that way about music.
Yeah.
Like it could take you to another place. It can make you feel all kinds of things, even feel a sense of transcendence.
Yeah, it's like it speaks to your soul.
Exactly. And it seems like Corelli understood that.
Yeah.
She thought that if we really listened to beautiful music,
right,
we could open our hearts and connect to those spiritual energies.
Like it's a form of meditation.
Yes.
A way to connect with that deeper part of ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
It makes me wonder, what if we designed a place for spiritual exploration today?
Oh, wow.
Based on these ideas, what would it look like?
That's a great question.
What are you imagining?
Well, it would have to be a place that welcomed everyone.
Right.
No matter what they believe.
Yeah.
A place where everyone feels safe and accepted.
Yeah.
Where people celebrate their differences.
Totally.
And talk about these big questions openly.
I love that.
A place where we can explore life and meaning.
Yeah.
Without judgment or dogma.
What else are you picturing?
I'm thinking lots of natural light.
Okay.
Plants, fresh air.
Yeah.
A place where people can connect with nature.
Yeah, I love that.
Maybe a garden where they could grow food or meditate under the trees.
Yes.
Just listen to the birds.
So peaceful.
Yeah. And what about music?
Oh, yeah, we have to have music.
Right.
How would we bring that in?
I'm thinking a special room just for music with instruments from all over the world where people can play and create together.
Yeah.
And concerts, of course.
Of course.
All different kinds of music.
Yes.
Classical, folk, world music.
It's like a symphony for the soul.
I love that.
A celebration of the power of music.
Yeah, but we also need some quiet spaces.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
For people who want to reflect, little nooks tucked away, maybe a library with books and recordings of spiritual teachings and meditations from different traditions.
And what about art?
Oh, yeah.
I think visual art can be really powerful, too.
Definitely.
Maybe an art studio where people can paint, sculpt, create whatever they feel inspired to make.
A place where creativity can flow freely.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like we're designing a sanctuary.
Yes.
A place where people can nourish their souls, connect with others, explore those deeper parts of themselves.
And it's not just about the building itself. Right. It's about the community.
Yeah.
The feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have workshops, discussion groups, potlucks.
I love it.
Where people can connect and learn from each other.
A place where we support each other on our journeys. Maybe someone listening will be inspired.
I hope so.
To build this place.
That'll be amazing.
But even if you don't build an actual temple.
Right.
I hope this deep dive inspires you to create your own spiritual space, whether it's in your home or in nature, or just a commitment to making time for yourself.
Because the most important temple is the one inside us.
Beautifully said.
Yeah, it's like this journey we're all on, right? You know, this search for meaning, this wanting to connect, this like urge to discover what we're really capable of can take us to so many places.
Yeah, inside ourselves and out in the world.
Totally. And on that note,
yeah,
I think it's about time we wrapped up this deep dive.
Okay, but before we do, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
Okay. Imagine you could design a temple for spiritual exploration. But like for today, for the 21st century, what would it look like? What would you include to make it a place where people could find what they're looking for? All those things we've been talking about, those echoes from those letters.
That's such a good question. It makes me think, we always try to put spirituality in a box, right? Yeah. Like it only belongs in certain places, churches, meditation centers, whatever. But what if we could bring it into our everyday lives?
I love that. What do you have in mind?
Well, think about it. What if there was a community garden?
Okay.
Where people could grow their own food, be outside, connect with nature, share meals together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It would help people appreciate the earth.
Exactly. And we could have a space for creativity, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like a music room, an art studio, a place for performances,
It's like giving people a chance to express themselves.
Yes, exactly. To explore those hidden parts of themselves.
And we need quiet spaces, too, right?
Of course, cozy corners with comfy chairs.
Yeah.
Soft lighting, a place to just be.
Yeah.
Listen to that inner voice.
Yeah. And connect with that deeper self that Corelli was talking about.
Exactly. And, we could have a library, too.
Okay.
But not just for books, for recordings of spiritual teachings from all different traditions, so people can learn and find what speaks to them.
And a place to talk and share ideas.
Yes.
To ask those big questions and help each other along the way.
I love that.
It's like we're creating a spiritual oasis.
Yes.
A place to recharge and find your center.
Maybe someone out there will actually build this place.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would.
But even if they don't.
Yeah.
I hope this deep dive has made you want to create your own space.
Yeah.
Somewhere you can connect with yourself.
Yeah, in your home, in nature.
Yeah.
Just make time for it.
Because, like you said, the most important temple is the one we build inside.
Absolutely. And that's a journey we're all on together.
So well said. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, keep exploring. Keep asking those big questions and keep searching for those sparks of truth that light up your path.
See you next time.